Hello everyone, my name is Angelo Geter. I'm the Poet Laureate for the city of Rock Hill, South Carolina. And so honored and privileged to be here today with you. Thank you to the Pickens County Library System staff for allowing me to be a keynote reader for National Poetry Month. This is National Poetry Month, by the way, and so it's a month that we definitely want to celebrate poetry, past, present, and future. And so I'm really excited to be here today to share a few poems with you. And so I have a couple pieces that I'd like to share and kind of talk to you about poetry and the story behind some of these poems. So to begin, I also want to thank the city of Rock Hill for allowing me to be the Poet Laureate. I've been in that position since November 2019. It's been an amazing experience so far. I've been able to really just travel the city and also go through different parts of the state, just reading poems and talking about literacy. And I really have a passion for doing so. Because when I was younger, poetry is the mechanism that made me feel like my voice was heard and my voice was important. And so it's really great to be able to share some things with you today. So without further ado, we'll get right into some poems. This first poem is a spoken word piece. It's a performance piece that I do from memory. And it's called Warriors. And it pretty much talks about how a lot of people that I consider my heroes, they just did things because they felt it was the right thing to do. It didn't allow people to deter them from making change happen. And that's, Martin Luther King, W.E.B. Du Bois, Malcolm X. Some of these are my personal heroes. And when I think about who we are as people, sometimes we have to be our own warriors as well, instead of letting others dictate how we do things for ourselves. Warriors. They say warriors are born in the middle of warfare. Soldiers are bred when gunpowder combines with the residue of fear stored inside of your vocal cords. When the oxygen in your nostrils turns into hand grenades with C4s lodged in throat. They call it a war zone. When tear gas suffocates your lungs, bombs implant shrapnel in your eyelids, when terrorists begin to terrorize, when suicides turn into ceremonies, when Patriot Acts perpetuates operations that are supposed to endure our freedom, they call it a war zone. When AKs, ARs, and MPs turn bodies into alphabet soup. When waterboarding becomes nothing more than just a buzzword. Iraqi soldiers holding machine guns in a child's face like Christmas gifts. Somalians stripped from their homes. This is what they all call a war zone. And while we're watching MSNBC, there's a real war going on in our own backyards. Where single-parent mothers are cradling their children like assault rifles. Deadbeat fathers using their fist to finger paint black and blue road maps on women's faces. When child support turns into another child left behind, gunshots swish through the air like jump shots, police sirens sound a lot like Haitian mothers screaming in auto-tune. New towns in Connecticut turn into obituaries full of children who've been chopped and chopped and chopped and chopped and chopped and screwed. See, this is no ordinary war zone. This is no Iraq. This is no Afghanistan. This is homegrown hatred, broken down using the Constitution as lighter fluid. Overdosing instead of enjoying the solace of our silence, taking shots when they're shooting down our pride, hangovers turn into hymnals, birthing blind ignorance. And y'all, there is no morning after pill for complacency. No plan to be or strategies to stupidity. This, forgotten that we were born to be warriors. Implanted with telescopes in our eyes so we never lose sight of God. Cell phones stuck behind our rib cage, our hearts on speed dial warriors. Who make Selma in our Similac, Appomattox in our attitudes, Montgomery in our majesty, Columbine in our cadence, warriors with levees for legs, tsunamis for tears, tornadoes in our teeth, warriors who smile at fear, frown at death, believe tomorrow is a coward's excuse to delay our destiny, warriors who march to the beat of our own drum, warriors who believe 911 is more than just an area code, warriors who Martha Martin sat with Malcolm and break bread with Trayvon, warriors who forgot what war actually looks and sounds like. We have become junior ROTC cadets searching for our orders, looking for our medals, ready to fight a war. It is already too late. So that's that first poem. And again, I really believe that as citizens, as people, we have to, do things for ourselves, and we have to, make a conscious effort to implant knowledge and power and wisdom to other people. And that leads to the next poem where I talk about, when this pandemic, it's literally been a year now since everything started happening and the world started changing. And the poet laureate of South Carolina at the time, she's since retired, but Marjorie Wentworth, she reached out to several poets throughout the state and to create this Poetry in the Pandemic series that was posted in the Post and Courier in Charleston. And so basically we were all tasked with writing poems that talked about the pandemic and how we kind of got through it, and or not gotten through it, and how we were kind of making our way through that. And so this is a poem I created for that series, and it's titled When the Virus Comes. When the virus comes, talking heads on television screens will tell you to abandon ship, to drown yourself in a sea of isolation, submerge homes in Lysol wipes and hand sanitizer, engulf body in face mask and plastic glove until it becomes second nature. They will tell you to turn your kitchen into a panic room, basement into a fallout shelter, instruct you to grab everything you can while you still can. They will say that the shelves at the stores are empty and not realize they are also talking about you. They will preach from the gospel of quarantine, shout parables of thou shalt wash thine hands. For God so loved the world, he socially distanced himself from the very people he wanted to save. It will make you wonder how a hero or a government can rescue someone they can't even touch. When the virus comes, you will kiss your lover like it's the last time, because maybe it is. You will dance on timelines like decades are stuck on the balls of your feet. Sing like a quartet is trapped in your throat. Laugh like this is the last time you know what joy feels like, because maybe it is. And today, that will be more than enough. So along those same lines, a lot of times when we are in the sense of isolation or feeling as though we're stuck in a place that we can't get out of, different things start happening, right? And with the pandemic and just with the way life has been over the past year, we've experienced a lot of loss, a lot of collective grief, and so this is, at least in my lifetime, the largest collection of people grieving over losing loved ones or losing the life that they knew before, or losing things, losing jobs, losing money, right? And so a lot of times in that, it's easy to get in a state of depression. And so this poem talks about basically the place, when you get to that place, kind of how to work up out of that. And it's called Cry Yourself a Freedom Song. On the days when waking up feels more burden than blessing, heartache than healing, when your sanity is trapped in a gas chamber of doubt, suffocating the air of hope, depression tap dances on the riot in your throat, fear plays a sonata in the key of disbelief, the sheet music in your tongue fades from neglect, eyes form tombstones that only see death. Remember, there is gospel in your grief. Every tear is a prayer. So cry yourself a freedom song. Sing a spiritual to the cadence of your weeps. Let amens trickle down your cheek. Make hallelujahs in the luggage under your eyes, and breathe like being alive is the sweetest melody you could ever sing. Let's Cry Yourself a Freedom Song. I had the honor of that being in a collection, an anthology collection, curated by the poet laureate of North Carolina, Jackie Shelton Green. And that book is called Thoughts on the Power of Goodness. It's on Amazon right now. And it's a lot of other amazing poets in that book. So please check that out as well. And that poem will be in my forthcoming collection as well. So you'll get to see that again in up close and personal. So this next poem is one of my favorite poems of mine. But also not just because I like it. I like all my poems, but the reason I like it is because it's done a lot for people. So in June of this past year, the Academy of American Poets, which is pretty much the top poetry organization in the U.S., reached out to me to send a poem for the series called Poem a Day. And so literally every day you can subscribe and get a poem to your email, and they have over 100,000 people that are subscribed to this. And so this poem was selected for that. And it was in the midst of a lot of social unrest that was happening with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. A lot of things were going on. And when I wrote this poem, it wasn't really intended to touch on those topics necessarily. But because of the nature of what I'm talking about, it did reach a lot of people. And I've literally had emails from folks from Germany and from England and from all over, telling me how this poem really helped them through some tough times. So, and it talks about praising things, and even when it feels like we can't do so. So it's called Praise. Today I will praise. I will praise the sun for showering its light on this darkened vessel. I will praise its shine. Praise the way it wraps my skin in ultraviolet ultimatums demanding to be seen. I will lift my hands in adoration of how something so bright could be so heavy. I will praise the ground that did not make feast of these bones. Praise the casket that did not become a shelter for flesh. Praise the bullets that called in sick to work. Praise the trigger that went on vacation. Praise the chalk that did not outline a body today. Praise the body for still being a body and not a headstone. Praise the body for being a body and not a police report. Praise the body for being a body and not a memory no one wants to forget. Praise the memories. Praise the laughs and smiles you thought had been evicted from your jawline. Praise the eyes for seeing and still believing, for being blinded from faith but still losing their vision. Praise the visions. Praise the prophets who don't profit off of those visions. Praise the heart for housing this living room of emotions. Praise the trophy that is my name. Praise the gift that is my name. Praise the name that is my name, which no one can plagiarize or gentrify. Praise the praise. How the throat sounds like a choir. The harmony in your tongue lifts into a song of adoration. Praise yourself for being able to praise, for waking up when you had every reason not to. I'm just going to share 2 more poems with you all. Thank you all for having me here. So this next poem is one that I wrote for MLK Day. So in Rock Hill, we have normally a huge MLK Day breakfast, and I think they have one here as well. Big breakfast for MLK Day, and it's just, of course, due to how the world is right now, we couldn't do that, but we did have a virtual celebration. And so that was asked by the mayor and the city council to write a poem for MLK Day. And this year's theme was on good trouble in honor of Congressman John Lewis, who passed away earlier last year. And it's called Trouble. The dictionary defines the word trouble in the following ways. 1, the malfunction of something such as a machine or part of the body. 2, a cause of worry or inconvenience. 3, a situation in which one is liable to incur punishment or blame. 4, public unrest or disorder. 5, a particular aspect of something regarded as unsatisfactory or difficult. In America, the word trouble has always been the scapegoat for anything deemed out of the ordinary, outlandish, outrageous, out of line. But trouble doesn't have a skin tone or a gender or an identity or socioeconomic status. Trouble isn't out of order. It's an act of defiance, a statement of declaration. Trouble is throwing your voice like a sledgehammer to break the barriers of silence. Trouble is what happens when conviction meets opportunity, when the proverbial foot of oppression stumps on the spines of those who made it possible to stand in the first place. Trouble is what happens when the arms of inequality strangle the hope from our lungs, leaving a skeleton of breathless bodies behind. Trouble is inconvenient. Like, you cause more trouble than you're worth. Like, you're always looking for trouble. Trouble always seems to find you. And yes, trouble can find you, hiding in plain sight, but still losing your sense of direction. Trouble can find you laying in the background while still marching for your freedom. Trouble is lifting every voice to sing the harmonies of liberty. Trouble is dreaming until sleep becomes too short to hold the longevity of your vision. Trouble smells like Bloody Sunday, tastes like tear gas and revolution, feels like church pews and resurrection. Trouble sounds like a chant, a mantra of sweat and grit, unity and collaboration. Trouble is the determination of John Lewis, the intention of Dr. King, the loyalty of Obama, the abrasiveness of Malcolm X. Trouble is unrest, because we can't relax while the world crumbles around us, leaving a debris of complacency in its wake. No, trouble isn't always bad. Sometimes trouble is necessary. Life-changing trouble, world-bending, Trouble, the song says, soon we'll be done with the troubles of the world, and we will, as long as we're ready and able to create some good trouble in the process. And my last poem for you today, thank you all again. Thank you to Pickens County Library staff for having me for National Poetry Month. I really appreciate it. And this last poem is, I like to end with this poem, or a poem about women, because I really believe that as a man, as a black male poet, right, as a black male artist, I believe it's important to amplify female voices, whereas sometimes they're not as, sometimes they're silenced, to be quite honest with you, and that's not right? So as March was Women's History Month, I always try to honor and celebrate women as best as I can. And what better way to do that than to celebrate my own mom, who's the number one woman in my life, who's always been there for me and made me the person that I am. And so this poem is called Wonder Woman, and if you have a mom or mother figure, then this also relates to you and to them. So for as long as I can remember, my mother has been the strongest woman I've ever known. A queen whose face is made of stone, jigsaw puzzles in her teeth, piecing the truth together. Her eyes are bridges that connect the past with the future. And she's what I like to call a straight shooter. Will tell you exactly what she feels, doesn't care what you think or how you feel about it, wears her heart on her collarbone like a diamond necklace, holds pyramids in her palms so you can feel the royalty in her embrace when she hands you a fistful of compassion. My mama has a monument for a heart. Hieroglyphics in her tongue decipher the elegance in her speech. She is a small, a strong, and proud woman. A woman who put on high heels just to walk to the grocery store, but put on full makeup and get her face beat to the gods just so she can go to the gas station, because she believes that queens should never leave the house looking like peasants. And she's a superstitious woman who believes that aspirin and vinegar can heal anything. And I'm talking arthritis, gout, scoliosis, coronavirus, the flu, you name it. She thinks these things can heal it. And that's why I love her so much, because she makes ordinary things seem remarkable. Like how she can take a 50-cent box of noodles, add some milk, egg, and cheddar, make the most delicious pan of macaroni and cheese you ever tasted in your life. So good, it made Jesus smack his own mama. Rumor has it that she once put Bigfoot in the headlock, smacked Godzilla in the face and told him that his breath stank, killed Moby Dick, rolled him in flour, threw it in a pan and called it a fish fry. Y'all, my mama is a gangster. I'm convinced she's thrown a couple bodies in the river, because when I was younger, she performed drive-bys on me with a switch, a hanger, extension cord, anything, if I ever got out of line. And when she was done, she let me cry. Remind me that she ain't raised no punk. Show me that being a man has nothing to do with the size of your muscles, but everything to do with the enormity of your heart. My mom had the strength of Harriet Tubman, the grace of Cleopatra, and the style of Michelle Obama. She is a war machine with missiles shooting from her tongues that stopped men dead in their tracks, brought them down to her knees, living proof that the most dangerous weapon in America is the voice of a black woman. And it proves that black lives matter because she has birthed them and raised them and fought for them more than she has fought for herself. Because my mama is also a survivor. And just this past year, she fought the biggest battles yet, the giant named cancer and the titan named heart disease. And although one of these things took her breast, it can never be strong enough to steal her heart, not vigilant enough to cut off her air supply, because she is the air, a floating force too big to escape, yet too small to hold on to. A constant reminder that yeah, God sent his son to save us, but he created a woman to raise us. Thank you to the library staff and everyone here today, and enjoy National Poetry Month.